My sister was 16 when she died. She had no reason to commit suicide, yet no one who knew her could really say it was a big surprise. She had a euphemioral aura about her, as if her time here was perfunctory and she would take flight at a moment's notice. She was peculiarly endearing without being eccentric, leaping gracefully from one misadventure to the next. That was the way she died, too. Elegantly, if it could be called that. With her wrists creating small crimson blossoms in the water, her hair billowing as Ophelia's must have as she drowned herself in the brook. My mother was the one who found her, and she took it the hardest. She came to me first and stood in the doorway, her jaw working dumbly as she clutched at the wall for support. Your sister, she gasped. I mirrored her, leaping abruptly to my feet, but then hesitated, confused. What about her? She's dead. I sat down again, disturbed. I was numb with shock and, could it be, relief. Deep down there was a knowledge I had been waiting for the day when she would be snatched from the world. I didn't watch them cart her body away. It wasn't so much I was afraid as I felt nauseated by the lurid red-brown that collared her shirt. It felt gaudy, wrong. That entire afternoon felt wrong. In fact, like it was stolen and we were hiding from something. My mother locked herself in the bathroom, and my father went on to console her, and I might not even have remembered the rest of the miserable day had I not met my mother on the way out. I heard her say under her breath, "Get out of my sight, Eva." Eva? My sister's name was Eva, not mine. My mother was too upset for me to bring it up, but her tone implied something dark, certainly not the mistake of the distraught bereaved. In that moment, it was as if I didn't exist. As for myself, I couldn't shake the notion that she was still here. As present as any of the non-living, I was on the edge for the next few days, sleeping little and eating less, sure that she would appear to haunt me, but there was no physical indication of a spirit in the house. The chairs remained unmoved, the dishes intact, and in general, everything retained the air of normalcy. That had pervaded the house before her death. The change was not in the material world, but in their minds. 2 months later, things started disappearing. It wasn't all that noticeable in the beginning, since it was defunct old memorabilia we didn't have much business digging up in the first place. My mother laminated that she had misplaced a stack of my baby picture albums, much to the annoyance of my father, who prided himself on the neatness. They spent an afternoon searching for it, but came out of the basement empty-handed. Then there were my favorite childhood books, which I remembered scribbling over in my infant years. I stumbled across them one day as I was cleaning my closet, but the marks I had made upon them evaporated as they never existed. It only got stranger from there. My mother was inconsolable, and still under the heavy depression of losing her favored child. Yet she wasn't the only one who called me by my sister's name. Neighbors often mistook me for Eva, despite my looking nothing like her, and even stared blankly at me for a few moments before they could recall my name. They laughed it off with a shrug and a wary look over the shoulder as if I was the one trying to trick them into believing my existence. These encounters made me uneasy. On top of being an insomniac, I soon grew to loathe to leave the house and spent days on end holed up in my room. 6 months passed before my father came to talk to me. He was the only one who had thus far never made the mistake of calling me by my sister's name. He'd aged more in these past months than in the last 5 years, but even my sympathy was replaced by a certain chill when he said, "Eva, we need to talk." "Dad," I protested, "I'm not Eva." "What do you mean you're not?" He stopped. There was something akin to fear in his eyes. "Of course, my bad." It got even worse every passing month. I was forced to return to school under the threat of suspension, but when I arrived, they said they had no record of me. The receptionist eyed me with an exasperated, "This better not be a prank," look, as she searched her database repeatedly to no avail. Finally, I gave up and decided to go on a drive through downtown. A police officer stopped me for speeding and asked me to see my license, which I've always kept in the outermost pocket of my wallet. But that day, when I went to pull it out, it was gone. I drove away from the encounter feeling deeply unsettled. By the 8th month mark, I was scared shitless. No one recognized me and mocked me when I claimed familiar relation to Eva. When I spoke of her suicide, they only shook their heads, pitying me my sorry mental state. It took me multiple doses of tiny pills to get me to sleep and twice the amount to get me awake. I thought I saw apparitions in our backyard that turned out to be bent-up tree branches, and I swore I could hear the laughter of my sister when it was simply the premature whistle of a kettle downstairs. Every movement I caught my peripheral vision made me jump, every noise made me cringe. On that eve that marked the anniversary of Eva's death, the house was unnaturally silent. My parents had gone out, and it was a rainy Sunday afternoon that left me much to my own devices. By that time, I was a wreck. I couldn't even stop trembling in my bed, even though the thermostat read 75 degrees Fahrenheit. My parents didn't even bother talking to me even more, knowing that I was buried in recollections of Eva. But perhaps even warier for my erratic behavior, I sequestered myself desperately, frightened of slipping past their eyes once again, passing through their memories as air. My friends had either given up on me or forgotten me, and I was too petrified to find out. On that day I was completely alone. My parents promised to return by 10 o'clock. I should have known from their deathly silence that settled over the house after they had left that they wouldn't be back at all. Not in the way I expected, at least. I was too engrossed with my own troubles to notice. When 11 o'clock passed with no sign of their return, I was prepared for the worst. I fetched an ice from the kitchen and waited in the corner of my room farthest from the window. Then, very neatly in anguish, I waited. The wind swept through the windows with an explosive force, shattering them across the floor. I rose in a trance-like state to meet it, laughing grimly at the imminence of my fate. "So, Eva," I yelled above the wind, "have you come to take me with you? Is that what you did this all for?" The huddled form drew near, translucent in the darkness with gleaming opal eyes. It did not respond, instead pressing forward step by step till it was within arm's reach of mine. My heart pumped wildly in chest, and my legs were about to buckle, but somehow, I managed to keep upright. "Say something!" I cried. I thought if I could just get it to speak, this nightmare would end. I would wake up in my old, idyllic life, none of the worse than before. I could know that fear that squeezed so tightly against my ribcage, threatening to tear me apart, but it didn't say a word. It turned very slowly towards the window whence it came, and allowed the moonlight to filter across its face. And then I recognized that face. My face. The scream tore through my lungs involuntarily as I wrenched from a fitful sleep, lurching upwards, gasping for air, and sweating profusely. The panic dogged to a throb as I calmed enough to survey my surroundings. I was there in my room, sitting in my bed. The window was unbroken, the knife nowhere to be seen, and my medication nowhere to be found. It was as if the past year hadn't happened. There was only one way to find out if everything was truly as it seemed. I leapt out of bed and threw open the closet, scrambling to find my own books. Defaced, torn, fingerprinted, all that held the traces of infant's play. I breathed a sigh of relief. It was all right. I was all right. The door opened a crack as the fearful face of my mother peered inside. "What are you doing this late hour, sweetie?" she asked, her forehead creased with concern. "I heard you shouting. Bad dream?" "The worst," I said with a feeble smile. "That must have been some cilantro. I'm not having pasta again." My mother smiled back at me and entered, kneeling beside me to look at the picture of books in my hand. "What's this? Your usual calming ritual after a nightmare?" "No, it's just—" I faltered. I didn't want to sound too crazy. "I thought in my dream that she'd killed herself or something." My mother looked at me puzzled. "Who had killed herself?" "My sister," I said. Then seeing her begin to shake her head, I laughed. "I know, it's stupid, right? She's the last person to do that sort of thing." "Sister?" Her confusion was unnerving me now. "Yeah, you know, the girl I grew up with, Mom." "Really?" "No," she insinuated, the syllable carefully, heavily. "Honey, what are you talking about?" "What do you mean?" "Well," said my mother, You've always been an only child, Eva."